Alright, we've left the salamis to dry out a little bit in the sun, so it's now the day after we filled them, and it's time to go and hang them up now. The curing of the salami is the most critical part. If you get it wrong, what tends to happen is that it dries out on the outside and creates a hard shell, and in the inside it's still not cured and it goes rotten. But my understanding is that it's best to put it in a dark room with no ventilation or very little ventilation, so that the salami cures slowly. Sometimes you might even put some water in there, a pan of water or something to maintain the humidity. What you don't want is a really rapid dry, and it creates this hard shell on the outside. The end where we put that knot with the bubble there, which is the strongest end, is the end we hang it by. And you leave some nice long strings there, so you can just tie a knot in it like this, and then you can hang it. So there we go. It's good to keep them apart so they don't touch. Alright, we've hung them all up. It's nice to always have a plastic sheet or something on the ground, because during the process there will be drips. There's a bit of free liquid dripping off. They'll take about 3 weeks to cure. Because we're amateur salami makers and we don't have refrigeration, we always make the salami in the middle of winter when it's naturally cold. So what I will do in the next couple of days, I will wipe these salamis down with a mixture of vinegar and olive oil. What that does is that suppresses the growth of mould. Normally mould, if it's white, is good, but if it's dark, it's bad. I think it's better just not to let it grow at all if you can. So, I'll be back here in the next few days. But in the meantime, we'll keep the door closed, not a lot of ventilation, and sort of dry slowly. I may put a pan of water in here to maintain the humidity. I believe a 60% relative humidity is supposed to be the right thing, but I don't know how you do that at home. Second day after we've made the salami, and what I'm going to do today is I'm going to put something on the salami to stop the mould growing. I've put together 3 parts vinegar, 1 part olive oil. What this will do is it'll stop, the vinegar in particular stops the mould from growing, and the olive oil gives it a nice sort of a covering. Doesn't look too bad there on salami. It's sort of dried off a little bit now. I'll dip this in here and I'll give it a bit of a wipe. So here we go. And that should stop any mould from growing. So it's just a matter of covering all the surface. Now what we're hoping for here, that the salami will dry evenly. So these salamis will shrink quite a bit. As I've said before, it'll take about 3 weeks for the salami to cure so that you can eat it. Which isn't a long time, is it? If I think they're drying too quick, I could try putting some water in here, like a bowl of water or something, to increase the humidity. I've heard of people doing things like lighting fires and smoke and stuff. It almost sounds like witchcraft. I don't know. Well, here we are. A week and a half after we filled the sausages, salami, and about the 3rd day I put some vinegar and oil in there. And what's happening now, we're starting to get little bits of white mould growing. And white mould is actually good, but I've taken the tack of just not having any mould. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give it another wipe with the vinegar and oil mixture. And hopefully that'll eliminate that mould before it gets growing. The salami is looking good at the moment. It looks like it's drying nice and even. It's not going too hard too quick, which is a good sign. What you want is that you want it to cure nice and evenly so that it cures all the way through. So far so good, we're looking good. Here we are, 3 to 4 weeks later, and the salami is well and truly ready. What you're looking for, if it's too early, it'll be soft and spongy and it won't be right. If you let it go too long, it becomes really dry and like a lump of wood, so you've got to get it somewhere in between. I've probably left it a little bit late. It's close to 4 weeks, and it's probably a little bit hard, but it's still got a bit of sponge in it. So let's take some out and we'll cut it up and have a look inside it. Okay, so I'll just cut this open to see what it's like on the inside. You see that? That looks really good. It's even, it's all the way through. There's no hollows in there. It's not hollow. It's really nice. Smells beautiful. So it's good. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to vacuum seal it. Because if you just leave that hanging there, in a couple of weeks time it'll be like a lump of wood. It dries right out. So I'm going to vacuum seal it. What I do is I put it in the freezer, which is probably a bit over the top. But it'll stay in there for a year. I just ate some that was a year old. This is the little vacuum sealing machine I've got. A special bag for the vacuum sealing. And you just cut some up and you put it in there. I've cut it just to get it in there. And you put in as much as you like. Just whack it in here. So you can see the air being sucked out of the bag. See that? See, it's all shrinking down. Look at that. That'll stay like that for ages. So that way you can preserve your salami and you don't have to eat it in a week. Now in the old days when they didn't have vacuum sealers, like when my parents' generation, they used to put the salami in olive oil, either olive oil or pig fat, and that would seal it and preserve it as well. So it's all about stopping the air get to it. So there you go, we've made the salami from where to go. Now there's only one thing left to do, eat it. So here we are at the very best part of the salami making process, getting to eat it all. Here's some salami all cut up. It's really lovely to have it with some nice crunchy bread. In this case it's Hillary's wonderful sourdough, which is just magnificent, and a glass of red wine. And there's some other things that we have with it too. These chilies here, these are what we call paprika. They come from a village where my parents come from in Calabrese. Basically, they're chilies that are dried and then fried in olive oil. The name they give them is paprika, which means crunchy chili in dialect. So crunchy, beautiful. These are eggplant from our garden, preserved in olive oil, and some olives that I preserved as well. So there we are. It's just fantastic, all of this stuff. Just have it with the wine and everything. I tell you, it doesn't get much better than that.
Oh wow, it's so good.